radiant, shimmering light. I am so excited to have Sarah Selecky on the show today to talk about her brand new novel with this gorgeous cover. We were having a little chat off air before, which is always like the most fun, and I think people would so be enjoying this, but they'll enjoy this as well. Welcome to Reading with Robin, Sarah.
Thanks, Robin. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yeah, we should have been recording the director's cut there.
Right? I know. I always think that, and I'm like, you just can't ever repeat it. It's just, such an organic thing. And then I'm like, that would have sounded really great, which is why when I had the radio station, when the show was taped there, and a guest would come in, I'm like, don't talk to me. Welcome to the studio. There's no green room. We can't be separated. I'm looking at you, but do not speak. Drink your coffee. Right? Because you don't want to
just save it. You want to save energy.
Exactly. Well, speaking of energy, this book has so much warmth, humor, it's the satire, the whole thing. It is just my kind of read. And your team at Bloomsbury is fabulous. And they're excited.
I love them too.
Yes, about this book. And congratulations on all the pre-pub buzz.
Thank you.
What are you hearing, and what do you want to share with that? What should everybody know about this journey?
What everybody should know about? Gosh, I don't know. This is the first time I've released a novel in the United States of America, and I'm a dual citizen living in Canada. I've grown up in Canada, but I've spent a lot of time in the States. Mm-hmm. And the book is a bit of a dual citizen too. I really feel like the book is an American-Canadian border-crossing book. And it's been out in Canada since May, and
that's right.
So it's coming out really soon in the States, and I'm super excited. I'm super excited to see what my the American cousins, so to speak.
They're going to love it. They're going to eat it up. It's on
this.
all of these must-read lists. I mean, you see the lists that come out, and it's so exciting.
Yeah, every day there's another one. I can't believe it.
It's awesome. I know. I just saw one, I think it was the Washington Post, 10 books to read, and you're on there with my friend Ann Hood's book is out.
Right on.
And but when this one came, I just like the cover, and my daughter photographed it. I think it's up on Instagram. We were in Boston, and I had one of my purses with like this chain thing, and she draped it over the book with the coffee or whatever.
Yes, and she just like made an Instagram picture of that's so meta.
Yes, exactly. Well, right, and this whole book, I mean, just reading this book and it connecting to all of the way we live and the way we stylize everything and just all of the buzzwords and everything, it just all comes together in this novel. It's it's just a compulsively readable book. It's just fun.
Oh, I'm so glad to hear you
say that.
Book
club pick, right? So much to talk about. It's so clever. I love a clever book. And what have you been hearing, at home then? So it's been out for 6 months. Like it's been out Canada.
It's been out here for 6 months. I've been hearing a lot of what you've been saying. So like a lot of people just relating to it on this level. A lot of people are discomforted by it. Like it's been been squirmy.
Sure.
It's been squirmy. So the reception in Canada, I don't know. I mean, this is one thing we could discuss. I don't know what you know about Canadian literature and Canadians in comparison to American readers and American literature, but the writer Eden Robinson said in an interview that I heard recently that I just like nabbed it because I thought it was so great, that Americans in general like to be entertained, and Canadians are more suspicious of it. And I've been just throwing that quote around just to see where people take it.
Interesting, because I'm suspicious just in general. I'm like a very deep thing, but I also will be very happy to go along for the ride and take it for what it is. I don't know what that is. I mean, that might be that might be my New York part. I'm not sure. I don't know where that crosses the border. Yeah.
The Canadian cover is a very different look. It has a really different cover.
Yes. Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. So that would. Right,
which also sort of reflects something. Yeah, it reflects something. And my the American team, the team in New York, were like, they looked at the Canadian cover and they were like, no, we don't get anything from that.
Interesting. That's very.
So there are these subtle subtle differences, and that's I love it. I mean, that's part of what I was writing about, too. I mean, that's part of what I'm writing about in this book are the subtle differences between Canadians and Americans, and we live so close to each other, and we share this, like, fine border that, you know, it's almost as if it's not there, but it really is there, and there are some differences. And so what are they? And around around sales and marketing, advertising, making money, and bringing friendship into that mix, I think there are some cultural differences. I don't like, this is what I want to explore. This is what I wanted to explore in the book.
So interesting. And it all like sort of wraps up together in the marketing of your book.
Yeah,
also.
it sure does.
The Canadian cover is very cool. Yeah, it sure does, is right. And we never, I know you would never anyway dip into any of the spoilers of this book because we never.
We try not to.
Never, exactly. So we will sort of circle around those things. But what has been surprising to you, or what did you not expect? I mean, this is the first release in the States, or, anything stand out to you where you're like,
It's lots of surprises. I feel like when I released the book in Canada in the spring, it was still it was a very fast process for me. I mean, it takes a long time to write a book. It was actually a slow process of writing it. But then when it came to the point of finishing and releasing, I feel like I was still in a process of discovery with the novel when it was released. And so I was just sort of wide-eyed open to seeing, like, what will the response be and who will respond to this? So some of the things that have surprised me are the conversations I've been having with people at book clubs and at readings.
Isn't that the best, getting to hear what your readers think or bringing something up at you?
It just isn't finished until that happens for me. I just see that now with this novel. That's when it landed. That's when, like, the circle kind of could close and complete. So someone came up to me after one event quietly. I've been having a lot of quiet, private conversations, which this is what's been really interesting. Like, taking me aside and saying, you know what, I just confessing things almost, or admitting things, either from people who have been involved in anything from multi-level marketing programs to cults, all the way, like the whole gamut.
Sort of getting sucked in, and people are so vulnerable, or looking for things, or searching, or wanting to believe. I mean, you can see that from Facebook.
Yes. Oh, it's happening. It's
where
happening,
you're like,
right? And the people are...
Seriously? Oof. Yeah. I mean, that's where skepticism comes in loud and clear. But,
So that's been one thing that's been surprising for me, are people who are taking me aside who have been involved in those groups, who have come out of them, and then are thanking me for writing something that isn't vilifying them for that, like vilifying that character.
Sure.
And then there's another side of things, which is like the academic. So in literary circles, when I go to these literary festivals and have more academic, theoretical conversations about the literature of it, and then on the side, like after the event, people are coming up to me behind the scenes and saying like, I read a lot of Eckhart Tolle, but I can't tell anybody. Like, I don't want to tell anybody that I do.
Yeah, people are really keep that close, right? They want to know who are some of the authors like that you might look to.
Like, who do you do you keep something by your bed for support when you're involved in a critical discussion all of the time, and then you feel the anxiety? Then, like, where do you find solace? And sometimes people are reading self-help books, but they don't want anybody to know they're reading self-help books. So what's been the most surprising to me right now is hearing from people I didn't expect to hear from about things I didn't expect to hear, and feeling like I'm sort of a place that it's safe to talk to. I'm like me as the author of the book, which is different. I'm just the author of the book. I'm not, just wrote a story here.
People want to be heard, they want to know somebody's listening. And so somebody who's done all of this work,
people are feeling seen. Yeah.
And that's the thing. It doesn't need to be in a confessional per se, or to somebody who, I don't know, is billing you out at X amount
right.
per 50-minute session. So
right.
So it's all good. I mean, look what books can do. And I'm on the phone with Sarah Selecky. We're talking about her U.S. debut novel, Radiant Shimmering Light. You can visit her website, Facebook, Instagram. She's everywhere. Talk about the storyline a little bit, just so people have a sense of what it is.
Right. So the story follows Lillian Quick, who is a Canadian artist. She's in her 40s. She's single. She doesn't have any kids. She's working as a watercolor artist, and she has a special skill. She can see auras around animals.
I love that. I love the art, the aura, and the animal. Can you do that? Is this something you can do?
No. Well, I imagined it. I put myself in her feet while writing the novel, and I got to the point where I could imagine what it would be like. But no, I just heard from people. People see auras. People talk about seeing auras, and like, what must that be like? It's not something I can do, but I imagined it kind of being like synesthesia, which I can sort of imagine as a writer, being creative with our senses. I could kind of see how sound could be as color, and I just sort of transferred that imaginariness into what it would be like to sense the energy. You feel when someone comes in the room.
Sure.
And I just kind of imagined what it would be like if we colored that. And
I was trying to imagine what color my puppy's aura would be. I was like,
and what do you think? What do you think? What do you come up with?
Probably green, like a lot of emerald coming from him.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I would kind of imagine.
Nice.
But I was like imagining that this is something maybe you did as a side gig, and I was going to get a painting.
Oh, well, I could play around with it.
There.
I wouldn't, so much about, the other surprising thing about this book is that so many of the things I tried to imagine,
I was
so
writing real,
this book,
though. Yeah.
Well, it's like there's probably a place where someone is doing that. Like, you just have to Google it, and you will probably find a pet portrait artist who will be painting someone's auras. And, I wrote this, when I wrote this novel, I was trying to write something that took place in the near future. Mm-hmm. Just a few years out.
Sure.
And as I was writing all these things that I was kind of making up, people would probably start putting crystals in their face cream, that grinding up some crystals, that would probably happen. Well, that's happening.
And you even, and you put Swarovski in there, was in there somewhere, made in Rhode Island. So I was like, hometown crystal.
We should do something with that.
Yeah, absolutely. I would love that.
Do something.
When you come to, when you come to Maine, we're just several hours down. Yeah, we'll bring you over to Swarovski, and you can see what's going on. Yes, it's like one of our claims to fame here in Rhode Island, and So
Lillian
now we've got Lillian.
Yeah, so we've got Lillian. She's this artist, and she's been estranged from her cousin Florence for 20 years. She hasn't seen this cousin for 20 years, and her cousin Florence sort of rises again as an internet famous guru, a spiritual self-help guide who helps women marketing themselves to live the kind of life that they love and to make enough money to live the life that they love. And so she's this brand of spirituality, capitalism, self-help, a feminine divine sort of program. And she takes Lillian under her wing and brings her down to New York from Toronto, where she needs help with an artist. She needs an artist on the team to be her art director, and brings her into her team. The office is called The Temple. It's all very sacred business, very conscious capitalism, you could say.
Yeah.
And she has a program called The Ascendancy, which teaches women how to rise up and overcome. And she brings Lillian through this program. So Lillian begins Ascendancy. She begins working with her cousin in the temple, and her life indeed does change in ways she never imagined would be possible. And then things go from there.
They sure do. It's such a good book. And I'm speaking with Sarah Selecky, and her brand new book is one you are not going to want to miss, Radiant Shimmering Light. It's got this gorgeous cover. You can't miss it. It's just going to say, read me. And there is so much to talk about. And I love the way you're saying that people sort of pull you aside quietly, because I could just imagine at book clubs people have different experiences. And
they do.
Right? Different times in your life, you're searching for something, and who knows what remains, from that time. I mean, I remember back in the 70s, but like the S trainings.
Yes. Okay. So someone at a book club recently was telling me that she was in EST, and she was talking all about it. Yeah.
My friend's father, and I just remember all we heard about was, which ice cream cone do you choose? Do you remember?
What does that mean? Tell me more. No, tell me more.
It was. They would say vanilla or chocolate. Which do you choose? Vanilla. Why? Okay. I like vanilla. Why? It would go back and forth. I think the bottom, and I was like 13 or 14, and I was like, what is this? But I think the bottom line was because I choose it. I think that was the bend of it. I think that's where you got to. But I remember I was like, and all of these marriage encounter groups, and I'm trying to remember what else was around back in the day, because we've had this conversation because there are, sort of modern day of this as well.
Yep.
But now with, the Internet, and you talk about that in the book, there's just more information and the connection, and people are just searching and surfing and all of it.
Yeah. But people are lonely.
Very. And they, there's a misguided sense of being connected, I think, with all of this, and lonelier than ever. But back in the day, I guess you found people, I don't know, you saw like a sticker somewhere and you like joined a group or
or like saw a poster at the laundromat or something, right? Like it wasn't, You
just sort of found your people.
Was it about recruitment then too? Was asked about recruitment too?
I'm not sure, because I was, I just remembered her father was in this, and we heard about it. All of these things really work that way.
I mean, it's still
more person
still going on. Yeah, there's still a lot of this going on, and I think the more isolated and vulnerable we are, and the lonelier we are, and the more I don't know if it's more or less now with the Internet. I mean, I tend to think that it's more because I'm noticing it in that way, but I don't know. I mean, loneliness is not. We don't in this day and age. We don't have like a handle on loneliness. It's a time-honored tradition of the human condition, I think.
Exactly.
But people are capitalizing on it in a different way. I mean, everyone's monetizing it, and now there are ways that this is happening. And I think we can succumb to comparison and to feeling like other people have more than we have, that other people are having more close. I mean, this isn't new either. We've been hearing this a lot lately, and still yet it's happening. So how do we connect? I mean, how do we connect when we are so connected on every channel? I mean, I called you on Skype, and now I called you on my phone. We could
and this is much better, by the way. Sarah. Good. I can hear you much better this way. I was getting, I'm glad we had that little pre-chat because we sussed that out. Otherwise, I would have been like, I don't want to miss any of these words.
Right, and this is the thing. I mean, we have all these ways to connect, and yet, we can't depend on, nothing replaces looking someone in the eyes and sitting across the table from them and feeling like you belong and feeling like you're seen.
Absolutely.
Nothing really can replace that.
No, there's nothing. And I know that we, here I was telling you about the events that we do, and we center them around authors and their author events, and people want to come. And there's always the joke at the book club, like, did we read the book? It's really a wine club, but really people want to, and certainly some book clubs talk more about the book, and they do, and they read the book, but really people want to be together and have a sense of community and talk about, anything. I was watching the Today Show the other day. There was a club of guys that knit in San Francisco. It was really cool. And one guy was like talking about what he was making. He's like, I don't care. I just come to see my friends. They were all knitting really cool things. But this one guy, it was just funny the way he said it. And it's like that's the person that doesn't really finish the book or maybe even start it, but they want to be with their friends. And so it's another way to come together. So this is a great book club pick. I mean,
it is a great book club pick. I feel like different people have come into it in different angles. Like there are different places for you to enter the story. And the book clubs that I have had the opportunity to visit, which have been so great so far, I really do appreciate. Like, I love it because people are willing to. I mean, with this story, to understand this story, I think to to be delighted by it, like to gain purchase in this story, you need to be implicated in it somewhat. You have to be like willing to be implicated somewhere in it.
Very interesting.
And that's the discomfort. I feel like that's the uncomfortable piece of it, because how we gather is so important. And when it's transactional, when we gather in a way that becomes transactional, if it's monetized, if it's like if someone is capitalizing on it or stands to make some money on it, the foundation of the gathering shifts, and the intimacy therein shifts.
And that's not good or bad necessarily. I mean, there's like a real uncomfortable conversation around that. Is that good or bad? And it's and funny enough, well, this is off-air conversation. I was going to not to turn it around on me, but like thinking about some of the events that I've done through the years. Always were fundraisers. I mean, just really that's just the way I always did them. And, you know, as you get older and your time gets less and people say, well, you're bringing hundreds and hundreds of people together. Are you not monetizing this? And it's like, you can sell tickets or we always sold tickets, but it doesn't have to be just for fundraising, although we do much of that. But is that different, or does that need to be explained, or is it assumed? And so like that really kind of became a discussion where what isn't monetized, you know? I mean, the books are monetized, all of it, you know? So, really very interesting. So you come here and we'll have a big event and we'll monetize it. So, no, but I am actually, I did tell, forget who I was back. Oh, Lauren, I think I did tell her, but I want to do a book club, you know, or like an interview on Facebook Live with you, and have this be a book club, a Reading with Robin book club pick, because I know that people are going to just, you're welcome, love being able to talk about it. So we have to figure out how we're going to do that. And so, you know, once people have read the book, because that's, you know, it's just coming out here. Let's give people, well, I think I want to talk about it. I want to know what people think. I want to talk about it. A lot. These questions are important to me, too. Yeah, well, you get so much back hearing from that. And one more thing I wanted to really talk about, too, is your writing school. I mean, you know, and then also I was reading that, you know, you wrote the advice you give of writing what you'd like to read. So I want to know what you like to read. And also about the writing school and how that works and what are the expectations of so many aspiring writers, really. Well, okay, we'll take one question at a time. Where to start? Yeah. I just say a lot of things, and then you have to pick the question. Okay. I don't know if you were given a heads up. You need to pluck the question from all the words, Sarah. Okay. That's how it works. It's good. Okay, I can do this. I do run. I'm a writing teacher. I love teaching writing. I love getting in. I love talking to writers. I love putting writers together. I love getting. I think writing is about expressing the inexpressible, and I do think there's something. I mean, I think there is a difficulty. Writing is hard. Creative writing is difficult. It's challenging. We resist it, and I think that there is this myth. I'll call it a harmful myth. I'd say that writing has to be angstful and like painful, and you know the Hemingway school of just like writing is easy, you just cut your arm open and you bleed onto the page, and like this like it must be grueling, you know, and you just sit yourself. It's punitive, like the way writing sometimes is spoken about feels very punitive, and I started teaching creative writing because I wanted to teach the way I wanted to learn, I guess, is another way to say it. Like I started teaching years ago for myself to be like, well, what if we did it this way? What if we remembered that we loved writing, and what if writing was about the positive? What if it was beneficial to those who were reading it and those who were writing it? What if excellent craft did not have to be punitive in measure? And that's sort of how I developed the way that I teach. And I did actually think that I was going to go into teaching the way all my colleagues do, which is become an adjunct and teach in MFA programs. And after doing an MFA program myself and at the same time teaching at the same time that I was in my own program, I was teaching and advising and mentoring many writers who were recovering from MFA programs. Oh, interesting.
And I know not all of us. This is not like a wide. This is a generalization, and so much of what you learn in your programs, whether they are academic or not, it really is about your connection to the mentor who you're working with. That's so important. And having said that, I was seeing that there's a lot in the system, in the academic system. When you put creative writing in an academic system, I mean, it's problematic. It can be problematic in different ways. And there's not, we won't go into all of the ways that it's problematic, but I did just decide that I wanted to just keep doing it my way and provide another option.
So not everybody learns the same way, and not everybody, is going to connect. You want to have different, something you might have wanted to have available, or that. I think that's the way the best things come to be, really.
Not everybody has an undergrad. Not everyone who's an excellent writer even has a high school diploma.
Right.
Like you don't need to go. You don't need to go through that ladder.
Right.
Which Rick Moody once said that the MFA programs are a kind of pyramid scheme. Yeah. I loved it. Really, you think about it.
Yes, I've heard that. Maybe it was from him, but
maybe it was. Yeah.
That might have been interesting.
It's so interesting to think of it that way, just in the conversation we were having.
I know. It all sort of all ties in together. And I'm speaking with Sarah Selecky. You can visit her site at sarahselecky.com. You can find her on Facebook. Where will people mostly find you hanging out if you're not when you're
Instagram.
online?
Instagram. I'm not really on Twitter. I'm not. I try to cut down on a lot of the social media, but I do like Instagram because of the pictures.
Best. Yeah, I know. I'm trying to do more of that, but I have my daughter thankfully runs my Twitter account, and so I poke it once in a while. I know.
Lucky.
Well, you raise somebody that you are proud of and that you love to be with, and then on top of that they know how you would write is even better.
Lucky. It's great.
Yeah. I know. Yeah. And I do love. You could just go down looking at these beautiful pictures. And there's one woman in L.A. with these awesome cookies, and she doesn't ship. And I'm like harassing her. I'm like, more gorgeous cookies. You still don't ship. More gorgeous. That's my latest obsession. They're just so pretty, I don't care what they taste like. I just want to send them to people, but she doesn't ship, which makes me want them more.
Of course.
Of course, right, because why would I want to get the ones that are probably like right here? And what are you reading? What do you love to read? What was inspiring? Yeah.
Okay, so right now at this moment, I've been reading Adrienne Marie Brown's Emergent Strategy. This is nonfiction.
Sure.
And I've just been reading it, just thinking about story, thinking about what it is we're doing. I mean, coming out of this novel, I tried to write something that was contemporary, that was something that was of the moment.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
It was really difficult to do that because of the moment is happening so fast, and novel writing is such a slow art. Even if I was writing the novel quickly, I couldn't keep up. So the things that I was writing were starting to happen and in real time. So I ended up having to set the novel as historical fiction, actually. I had to set it in 2016, which was the last I could. But that then things started to, we started to satirize ourselves culturally. So thinking about that, I've been thinking about what we can do as fiction writers, what story is. I've been thinking a lot about new forms of narrative that are still satisfying, but one of the things Adrienne Marie Brown talks about is visionary fiction, which is neither utopian nor dystopian, but something that shows how change can happen from the ground up. And that I find that really interesting. I'm really compelled by some Indigenous storytellers, some writers that have been coming out, especially in Canada lately. There's Tommy Orange, of course, and then and Eden Robinson's Trickster Drift. Son of a Trickster, Trickster Drift. It's a trilogy that she's been writing, I was just talking to her yesterday about this question of story and narrative, and if that hero's journey of the hero who traverses and fights through the obstacles and fights the antagonist and then reigns triumphant and transformation occurs, that if that is such a colonialist narrative and such a capitalist narrative, really, what else can we do with story? And she was talking about Haisla, her Haisla storytelling and the form of story that she writes about in her Trickster series. So I've been reading that and loving that and finding all kinds of possibility in that.
See, and here I thought you'd say the latest Leon Moriarty book.
Oh.
I'm teasing you.
No, but I am looking forward to her book too. Nine Perfect Strangers looks beautiful.
That's so fun. No, I was just teasing
but that is,
we were talking about that off air. That's why letting the audience in on a little joke. But yeah, a lot of nonfiction. And what do you love for fiction?
For fiction, okay, so Eden Robinson has been like my go-to of late. Let me see, what else am I reading for fiction? I just this morning, I finished a very trippy novel called I'm Thinking of Ending Things by Ian Reid. It's a Canadian writer.
Great title.
And it's going to be made into a movie by Charlie Kaufman. So, and it's a very trippy. The narrative is very trippy that way.
Okay, good to know.
What else am I reading?
Oh, that's good. You're busy. You're busy reading.
I am busy. I'm reading a lot. I just read Educated by Tara Westover.
That was fabulous. Yeah.
That was really interesting.
Really. It seems to everybody, it's like on so many lists. And I follow, not closely, but there are just a few websites that I like to check in on once in a while, or maybe I followed them at one point, so every time somebody posts, I get one of those god-awful notifications. But I love to see where people are listing books they're reading and the ones that sort of come up.
It's interesting to see how the channels fly, how we like travel in these pods, these readership pods, and see what's going on. Another great book,
readership pods,
that I have to, the pods. Another great book. Sorry to interrupt you, but I just remembered it and I love it. And I have to share it. It's called The Amateurs. The Amateurs by Liz Harmer. Yes. And this book. I didn't read it,
but I think my daughter did.
Oh, it was so great and wild. And I read it. I paired that with Louise Erdrich's. What's her recent one?
Not Future Home of the Living God. Is that the last
That's
one?
It. Future Home of the Living God. So I read Future Home of the Living God and I read The Amateurs, and they both take this sort of near-future post-apocalyptic crisis, Earth, America, North America kind of place. But one is that The Amateurs really takes it from a point of philosophy and physics. Really interesting. Technology is very much a part of it. In The Amateurs, there's this company that's a lot kind of like Apple, but it's called Pina instead. It has a pineapple logo. And they have this,
funny.
And they create this port that is like an Alexa, but it's like Alexa to the 100th degree, and you can time travel through it. And then in Future Home of the Living God, she takes this much more earth and spirit approach to like a similar set of problems, so to see how these two authors, these two really great authors, tackle a similar set of problems, I found them both really compelling stories. So I'm looking, I guess what I love to read right now are things that are showing us how we could be, showing us what might happen, and I'm not interested in dystopian anymore. I'm really kind of over it, honestly, and I feel like I just want to read.
You got your fill.
It's not. I mean, we're in it. I think we're sort of spiraling in it. So, I think that the imagination. I love reading fiction for the imagination of what could be next, and so I'm really looking to native storytellers, native writers, to see what other kinds of stories can we tell that we haven't even looked at in publishing, in mainstream publishing before.
When you think about how is it possible that there's anything, but that's
what have we missed? What have we been missing?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And
I'm
as
ready.
You imagine and writing about it, as you're writing about it and imagining it, and it's happening in real time, that is the interesting. Way to sort of.
I mean, I don't want to read another Handmaid's Tale. Handmaid's Tale.
Well, that's what's interesting about that is the people. And again, something that I do when I scroll around and I look at what some of the people are reading, and it's like they're reading the same basic book. And how many that have taken place during certain historical periods. I don't want to point anybody out or any books, but like really another one of those? Like, I mean, I get that one's playing this instrument instead of that to survive something, atrocity, but like how many times can you sort of tell that story even from a slightly different vantage point? But so I just like things that stand out, and this book definitely does. It's Radiant, Shimmering Light, and it's by Sarah Selecky. It's just out now here in the States, and this is a book that just won't blend, so you are going to love it, and we'll talk more about how we'll make it a reading with Robin Pick. And I could talk to you forever, but I will let you go. And
this has been so great. Thanks, Robin.
So much fun having you on, and I wish you all the best, and I'm looking forward to more. Into continuing the conversation with you, Sarah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much.